at a conference 6 years ago and got to spend some nice quality time with her and really love her and her work and what she does, and are excited to be here. And know Kyle from, I don't know, countless conferences. I don't know, we've met many times, so we're really excited. I was really excited to hear when they started this and have come to the last few, and really enjoy getting to meet so many different people engaging in this work in just such wonderful ways. So we thought we have this video that got made for us. It's really awesome, and it kind of, both Tony and I work at a place called the Mountain Center in New Mexico in the United States. It's in the south of the United States, desert, high mountain desert. So we get 4 seasons, and it's a very interesting part of the United States. It's one of the poorer states in the United States. Usually ranked pretty low. It borders Mexico. It's fairly rural, you know, so there's some agriculture and things of that nature. But it's also very diverse. We have a lot of immigrants, a lot of folks from Mexico, Central America. It has a very large Native American population, one of the largest in the country. And it's a very, you know, more people of color living here than most rural states in America. Big cities, there's a lot more, but you know, compared to other rural states, it's very diverse. And so I'm gonna share the video with you. It's about 9 minutes, but it's pretty entertaining.
And I want everybody to just share one moment today where you used courage.
I usually try to keep to myself, but it just feels like it's like a different environment when I'm around people that are technically going through the same stuff I am. So I just opened up some.
I felt courageous almost every single second of this whole day, you know. I kind of didn't want to come, but I just came and had a blast with every single one of you guys.
Cool. I look forward to seeing you next week.
In our society today, a lot of what happens is very punitive, and what it really does is it kind of just makes teenagers angry or makes them withdraw, or, you know, sets up that hostile dissonance between themselves and their community. So the idea of having something like this for community service is like they could go clean up trash or something like that and it would serve the community, but doing something like this helps build community.
And maybe where we're at is, nope, don't want to climb, but maybe we're like, I want to give it a little try.
Kind of nervous. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to.
It's so brave that you're trying with us.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed.
The goal of the court was to foster and try to help the youth, right? We're not trying to penalize them. We're obviously not trying to you know, coddle them either.
I don't know where to put my foot.
Yeah, so great job just trying out different options.
Our goal is to build community with each other and increase resiliency in the face of adversity or uncertainty.
That's a really good one. Nice.
There you go.
So epic. Keep climbing.
Alright, you made it.
Like, I don't know, that gave me a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, but you did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that feel?
Good. I feel like I accomplished something. It's okay to get out of your comfort zone, and it's good to try new things.
Amazing, you know, to be able to have the chance to do something like this, that it could go from, you know, being in trouble to doing something more.
Nice, Adrian, you're almost there. Are you on your own 2 feet?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take you out. Good job.
That was tiring.
Got my arms tired.
How did it feel?
Yeah, Mikey.
It was crazy by the time you're at the
Good
top,
job,
it's
man.
really scary.
Yeah.
Just being more of who you really want to be, you know.
Thanks.
Finding your own passion in life.
Really?
So you have to be really like pretty honest, like integrity to yourself, keeping your eyes closed and keeping your partner safe. So look toward your partner and decide who is gonna be the blind.
All right. Keep walking straight. You're doing great.
Straight. Okay, little left. Left. No, like middle. All right, go straight. Little left. Straight. Straight. Out there. It's okay. Okay. Straight. Right. Does anybody know anything about aspen trees?
They're made out of wood.
As the tree gets bigger, they shed their branches that are no longer catching light, right? So they're kind of like leaving their old ones behind as they grow and get closer to the sun, closer to the light.
I feel like my mood has changed a lot throughout the course of this time. We got here and I was like, I miss home. But then now that we're out here, like actually experiencing things, I feel more relaxed and like welcomed. And I feel like I should be here right now.
Putting kids up here in a yurt for a weekend where they're not on their phones and they're just sitting around a campfire and having to entertain each other and tell stories, and that's a huge challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anybody know what that's called?
I came here thinking that I was not gonna have fun and that this was probably gonna be the worst experience of my life, and it's turning out to be a very great experience.
Put it down there, right there, and then your 12 down there. No. Okay, now. Yeah, you have
4. The thing that's so magical about it for me, that consistently inspires me, is just the fact that we have so much power to create the lives that we want in these really simple ways of paying attention. As simple as that is, there are so many barriers to being able to access that place in ourselves. Dismantling those barriers is the work.
This is the luxurious place.
How are you feeling?
A little bit sore because of last night. Sleeping on the floor was a bit tough. But it just like makes me feel grateful and thankful for all the things I do have. Like a shower at home. And I'm also grateful I get to be surrounded by all you guys. You guys are pretty cool people. And I really enjoy that. So thank you for that.
What you were saying, wonderful personalities. I like this community that we built pretty quickly, and I kind of feel like, yeah, I want to acknowledge that. It's a real blessing.
Adding to that, I just realized no matter how many of the branches fall from the bottom, the tree keeps on growing. So it just keeps getting higher and higher. Even though it's losing branches, it's gaining height. So it's gaining from its losses too. Maybe by losing something in my life, it has allowed me to gain much more than I ever would have if I would have held on to things in the past.
I felt so calm and so relaxed inside. It was nice. My heart feels like there's not a worry in the world right now. Like that's how I feel right now.
When we stopped for our hike, there was this moment where I was sitting there, the light was shining, and I saw everybody's faces in the light, going from smiling to like reflective. The arrival really set in that moment. It's always really unpredictable, but beautiful and fascinating to watch.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I think that gives a really good overview of our work at the Mountain Center. That particular group was a group, we call it Teen Court. And so they've gotten in trouble with the law somehow, either through drug or alcohol violations, or, you know, other community type things. It could be maybe some theft or something like that. But they're required through the court to do you know, some programming, community service. And our program counts as community service for them because they're working on themselves and their role in community. So maybe Tony could share a little bit about himself, and then I will.
Great. Yeah, thanks for, I don't know how well that came through, but thanks for sticking with that. And hopefully, yeah, you kind of got a good glimpse, like Misty said, of what we do. And it's just such a like small part of what we do, but it's such a big part of what we do too. We like to take people outside, but all that kind of experiences can happen in many, many different types of environments. You know, we use, you kind of heard one of the facilitators talking about the aspen tree. The tree grows and the limbs fall. We use a lot of that kind of metaphor and that type of conversations and metaphor to transfer the experience into their lives. And this is stuff you all are probably well aware of but that's kind of like the core, is about that experience and coming in community. It's so important for these youth. I mean, I was just watching, and I've seen that video many times, and I just saw the faces of those youth, and I want to be there with them. I just see them, and I just want to say, you're awesome, you're beautiful, you have all the potential, you can do this. And that's why we do what we do. We want to help create those experiences in those environments that people really feel that they have that potential. So yeah, thanks for watching that. Yeah, so I'm going to just talk a little bit about how I got into this work. And I don't take too long. It's not that fascinating of a story. Everybody has their own, but to me it's really interesting. I'm going to share a photo that I've never shared with anyone, and it just made me think, because I'm asked sometimes how I got into this work, but I never really shared these types of photos. I'm going to see if I can get this. Oh, so it's black and white. It's like 1930s. Okay, and right here, that's my grandfather, and this is in Mexico. My mother's Mexican. I'm half Mexican. Most of my family that I know is from Mexico. And here's one of the volcanoes and a whole crew, and my grandfather with that crew in it says, this is a postcard, 1933. And they would use these ropes that were made out of hemp and tie around each other, these like, and you just tie around each other without really any other gear, and probably wearing wool. And yeah, and I saw these as when I was really young. My grandmother saw me looking at all these photos and just being fascinated, and I always loved to go walking out, and she just handed a bunch of these photos and said, you're going to hold on to these. And so I felt very fortunate among all these uncles and other many cousins. So I felt very fortunate to have these, and they inspired me. Yeah, they inspired me to just know more what it is to be outside, because something was drawing me. Through my teens, I started going outside more. And then in my 20s, I was doing backpacking trips, try to get my friends who didn't want to do it to go with me. Like, look, I know a couple things. I got this map. Here's a backpack. And seriously, rain gear, we would take trash bags and just, cut some holes in a trash bag, and we would hike that way. And we just go, and it was on the East Coast. We'd go out in the backcountry around there, on the East Coast. There's these mountains called the Appalachian Mountains. And Then later, I I learned I had a friend who his sister had moved out to Santa Fe, and she worked at a place called the Mountain Center. And she was telling me all about it. I hadn't seen her in a couple years, and she took us rock climbing. We came out to visit her, and when I saw her last back on the East Coast, she looked a little different now after, you know, her living out here. Basically, she looked like a rock climber. She was super fit, and she was, I'm going to take you rock climbing. And so we went rock climbing and did some rappelling. And I just had this moment. I was like, wait, you do this with kids and adults, like, to help them? Because like I felt something had changed. Like I was like, I can't be the same person anymore. Something has happened and I don't know what it is, but this is what you do. I immediately, when I went back home, started looking up, like, where can I do this? I want to work outside. I want to help people. I want to do this thing. I want to be doing it. And this may sound silly, but I looked up, I found a place nearby that did that kind of work. And I know this might sound silly, but they needed CPR certification and first aid. And I was like, oh no, I can't, I don't have that credential. I can't do it. I don't know what it was. It was a barrier, lots of stuff there we can go into, but there was some kind of barrier I felt that I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I later moved out to Santa Fe, and just the Mountain Center kept being this thing that I wanted to be a part of. And long story short, I found out that CPR is not too bad. You can get certified in it. It's okay. It's something that a lot of these places require. And so I got that. I got this first aid certification, and then I started applying to the Mountain Center, and just been there for about 15 years. So you could say I love working there. I love the kind of work of working with people and sharing experiences, being in community. And it's funny because I'm kind of a quiet person in like my everyday life. Sometimes people meet me and they're like, you're super quiet, but people at work know that I'm like super talkative. And when I'm running groups, even people make fun of me because I talk with my hands a lot. But you know, that's kind of what drew me in. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll stop there and I'll pass it over to Misty.
Thanks, Tony. Tony's had almost every job at the Mountain Center. He started working on the vans and doing operational stuff. And he's the executive director now, so he kind of has tried it all. I grew up, my mother's Norwegian and my father is Native American, but did not grow up in his community. And we spent a lot of time outdoors growing up, and I had a really important, close relationship with nature, and didn't understand why everyone didn't, and was really sad about, for a lot of my life, really sad about how humans in general relate to the earth and our relationship with the earth, and how we're not really doing a very good job of caring for her. And I really approached this work. I had done a lot of outdoor work. So I had done some guiding, like rock climbing guiding, some farming, work like that before I started working at the Mountain Center. And I really approach our work with a kind of a framework, or a theoretical framework or therapeutic framework, that our relationship with the earth is really important. And that as we tend to that and manage that and grow that and have a better relationship with the earth, that we have a better relationship with ourselves, that we have better relationships with each other, and that we can have more full, joyful, fulfilling lives. I get to work with a lot of the Native American populations, survivors of violence, domestic violence, sexual assault. I work with a lot of folks in recovery. So, drugs and alcohol is kind of the symptom in the United States that gets mental health services. So often you go to jail and then you have to go to alcohol recovery program. And so that's kind of where we access a lot of our clients through. And I have found that almost universally, I've been there 10 years and work with groups, multiple groups every week. And we do camps, we do day rooms and camps. And almost every single person responds well to being outside. Like going outside, having a little sunshine on your face, taking a walk, sitting by a creek, almost everyone feels better. And I think that just that right there, that engagement with nature helps us repair our relationships, helps us, feel more like we belong and more like we're part of everything, that we're supposed to be here. And I think that's really helpful. Tony and I thought we have some questions that we kind of proposed along this line, and we thought we'd propose them to you and we could break out into small groups and discuss them and then come back and folks could share or have discussion or ask questions. Let me share, I'll share them with you. Can folks see that fine?
No.
Okay, I'll try again. How about now?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Can folks see it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So I'm really interested in Chris. We often think of nature as this other thing from us, whereas we're born here on this earth, and we've been here, I don't know the right numbers, but millions of years, right? I mean, we came from this earth. We came from the universe. We're a part of nature. So I thought these could be interesting questions. So what is or isn't nature? What important lessons have you learned from nature? What does a healthy relationship look like? So a relationship where you're cared for, but also you're caring for that. Like if you think of a romantic relationship or a parental relationship where both things are happening in a healthy way, what does that look like? And how does that apply to our relationship with Earth? So you can maybe take a picture of this or a screenshot of this, and then maybe Tanya, you can just break us out into groups. So we thought we'd just finish up these last 10 minutes or so, just people sharing what happened in their group conversations or asking the group any questions, or I learned from my folks that there's a lot of really wonderful knowledge in this group of people. So I'll just leave it open, whoever wants to start.
I was gonna say, I had a really great conversation with both Reedy and Sheena, and I think two things that I want. One, I want to read the book, Missing Piece Finds the Big, what is that what it is? The Big O, or Missing Piece. And then a foraging workshop sounds really exciting, because both of those fed to the conversation of how, like the mutually reciprocal relationship and all that stuff. And it was a really inspiring conversation.
Can I ask a question to the two of you about like what you do that's kind of related to that? So I want to know, you've been doing this work for a while now, and I want to know, what is that thing that makes you go back to work every morning and makes you really feel like, yeah, this is what I want to be doing? Like, so what is it that really fuels you and keeps that fire burning for both of you?
That's a great question. I think there's two things. One, a lot of the stuff I get to do, it would be my dream to do anyways, like go hiking. Like what a wonderful job to go hiking with people or whatnot. And the other reason for me is really I see how useful and how beneficial it is. You know, I every day I never have groups that are unhappy at the end of the day, that they might not be happy that they come at the beginning of the day, but at the end of the day they're always happy to have been there. And it feels good to do something helpful and useful in the world right now. So
Yeah, it's like Misty said, it's a good question. I think my job's changed over the years in many different ways. Right now, my drive is to make sure that these programs are being offered to many people as possible to create these experiences. And to my core, I'm a true believer. If you create safe spaces, you meet people where they're at, create an environment of community where they can feel heard, and give an opportunity for people to support one another, and then do that in like nature or in these types of environments, changes people for the better and really, really can help people overcome things in their life that they give them tools to overcome those things in their life. And so I truly, truly believe that to my core that it works. I know all of you are here because you believe in some form or another around those approaches. And that's kind of what wakes me up in the morning, keeps me going to work, because yeah, I truly, truly believe in it. Yeah.
I just maybe want to reflect a couple things I heard in our group that were really beautiful. One about just someone mentioned how they'd been going to therapy and were struggling, and they just decided to go to the Himalaya, and it worked. Like it was just what they needed. And then also someone else mentioned about some festivals that are happening right now in India around, I think it was Shiva, and just this, like how our indigenous knowledge, wherever you are from in the world, knows, having observed the universe for thousands and thousands of years, humans know that we're part of it, that we're part of pure consciousness, I think was what they said, that we can see that in the world. We can see that we are, that everything is alive. And I kind of interpreted that maybe a little differently than they said, but I thought that was also really beautiful. So, and I don't want to speak for my group, so if anyone in my group wants to say anything else, I'd encourage it.
I would like to add that this is my first session, and I'm really, really grateful that I came here, because I'm just beginning on my path, and to know that there are other people who believe in the same things that I do is more, it's keeping me grounded, and I'm really glad that I came tonight. Thank you.
So I'd like to share, and this is also my first session. Just being here and felt like there's such an intimate space to share. I that with a small group about and having these conversations about knowing about the world that is outside. At the same time, also reflecting on the deeper knowledge that we already have has been beautiful. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Misty, and the other person. Thank you for creating this space for us.
I can share a bit about what just to add what Kyle was saying about foraging. When we were talking about how we have a reciprocal relationship with nature, or also how we kind of give back. I just attended a foraging workshop, an online foraging workshop that made me start looking way more at cracks and nooks in urban environments. And one of the things the tutor said was to always leave something behind for the next creature. And I really loved that as like an analogy for how we share space and how there is abundance as long as we all play our part. So that was definitely one thing that came back to me today while answering those questions.
That's really beautiful.
I'll share one from our group that was kind of an aha for me from Ranava had mentioned nature and being in the mind and the behaviors that we have. And, you know, it was my perspective from what I was hearing was just how nature plays in our behaviors and how we interact in the world and our actions too as humans. So, and there's maybe different ways to think about it, but it can even be as one thing that was brought up was around even like how jealousy works out, and if that is a part of a natural thing or not, and how we interact in our relationships in the world, or just whatever that looks like. And just playing around with that idea is, for me, something that I've often thought about, but it gave me a different lens on how to look at it. So I thought that was really interesting.
Can I ask another question? So how would you suggest like finding, if you want to do nature or adventure-based therapeutic work, finding like your medicine, like that you know, how do I know what I have to offer if this is the work I want to do? So maybe just from your stories, like how did you know, Misty, that you wanted to do maybe rock climbing, or you know, so how do you find like your flavor of adventure therapy and what that looks like? Like, do you have any helpful suggestions for that?
That's another great question. I would say just follow your joy, you know, I think, and develop your relationship with nature. I think that comes differently for everyone, and it can be foraging, it can be taking walks, it can be gardening, it can be, you know, there's a million ways to enjoy a relationship with the world and with the earth. It can even be very urban. You know, it can be taking care of a little plant in a window, or being really conscious of where you get your food from. So I think, you know, whatever brings you joy and nourishes you is likely to do the same for someone else. So I would just encourage you to really take care of that relationship, tend to it. And find others too. Like, I think this group that you've started, Tanya and Kyle, is really beautiful, right? It's an opportunity to share and be inspired by other folks, and you know, find that community, that relationship that you can also tend to. Someone in our group mentioned they heard about this. They're getting their degree right now, and they heard about Tanya through another friend, and we're really excited, you know, like, so just that community, just take care of it, you know, meet that and inspire each other.
I would add to, I mean, that was well said, Misty. And I would just add one thing as a perspective, something I did a while back. I found a spot, and this is something that you might find in different places. They talk about this, like they call it a sit spot. You go sit down and find a place in nature, and it doesn't need to be in nature. You don't have to like go drive an hour away to go find a spot, but it should be a spot that you use for a little while, even doing it for like 4 weeks, like a month or something. And it could be even in your house, but you have an intentional space where you're just going to sit and observe, right? It could be the birds that are coming in. It might be a tree outside your window. Like I have this relationship with these 2 trees outside my window. I don't know what it is, but I have this thing that I just keep looking at these trees and I keep watching them, right? So, but having an intentional space where you can just sit on a bench, you just take a moment and observe. Don't worry about anything else that's going on. Just observe what's kind of around and look for life wherever it's at. Little, sort of medium size, big, and constantly doing that, right? This macro, micro kind of lens, right? Really big. And you're looking at all of that, right? And that can teach you a lot if you just kind of sit with it for a little bit. And the longer you do it, the more lessons you get out of it that can then transfer to anything that you do, anything in your practice, anything in your life, anything that you're helping someone else out with. There's a lot of lessons within that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question, if that's okay. I guess I really like the restorative, reparative sort of approach you have to, I guess, justice and community care when it comes to what we saw in the video. And I was kind of, I guess, wondering, like, what is the messaging that you convey when you work with people, maybe the ones that come from that background, as you take them in nature? Like, what are you telling them about nature, or how are you connecting the dots? I know you mentioned metaphor, but like where do you see them bringing that sense of themselves as part of nature into your own practices? I hope that makes sense as a question. But just what is that you're telling them to integrate, or just telling them about nature?
That's a great question. I think that's a really big question. I think it totally depends on the group and the person. We start a lot of our programs. This is becoming more and more done here in the United States, and it's been in Canada a little longer, in Australia a little longer. But we start a lot with land acknowledgement. So, most folks here, we live on Tewa land, which, and so just kind of bringing in these little parts of history. And then we'll start with a grounding exercise, like just notice what makes you feel good standing here. Is it the sun, or the wind, or what's something beautiful you see? And so we often start just like that without actually kind of giving, the big parts of the answer. But then I think another part of what we do that's really important is that, it's part of our philosophy that everyone's important. You go to a meadow and there's 50 different plants. It's so much healthier and more beautiful than when there's just one plant there, right? So everyone's important, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to have a good life, and and it's normal to have struggles and make mistakes. And that also happens in nature, right? So we spend a lot of time just pointing out things like he talked about the aspen trees, right? So the certain type of tree. So we might just, mention that when that limb no longer serves them, isn't useful, they put it down. They put that tree limb down, right? And then we invite them, like, is there anything in your life that's like that for you, right? And so we just continually kind of point things out, help create awareness, and then invite them to reflect on their own life. Just let them make those decisions. And kind of back to that again, like everyone is important. Everyone deserves everyone deserves positive, good things in this world, and that we're all better when we're all better. So I think that framework maybe sets the stage for that. But they make their own decisions on that. They make their own reflections and their own connections. Does that answer the question a little?
Yes, very much. And I really like the allowing of them to notice and come to these answers themselves through the process of like being present and being mindful about their surroundings.
Yeah, each of us inherently knows what we need. The person who went to the Himalayas, they knew they needed that. Maybe they couldn't quite say it out loud, but they knew it, right? We know how to take care of ourselves if we're given the environment to do so, if we're given the resources to do so, or if we're encouraged to do so.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful like Rogerian person-centered approach almost to this, where you believe in a person's wholeness like without having to, direct too much.
I would like to thank Misty, Tony, Tanya, and everyone for creating this wonderful opportunity for us to reflect on the things that we are doing and share your perspectives. That adds tremendous value. And now I have a lot to reflect upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you. I put in the chat box, I put my email, Tony's email, the Mountain Center's website. Please feel free to reach out at any time. If you're ever in this part of the world, we have an empty bed, please come. We'll take you to the Mountain Center and show you around, and we'd love to continue to collaborate with you, with all of you. Someone else left and I have to leave. I have a program I need to go to. So I'm gonna say goodbye, but you can all decide how long you need to be here. But thank you very much. I really appreciate all of you, what you bring to the world. And thank you, Tanya and Kyle. This is such a wonderful space to get to meet people and share.
Thank you so much, Tony and Misty, for making this time and being with us today. And everyone else for making this space what it was. I'm going to share this recording.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Tony. Bye.
Wow. Bye. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it. Super, yeah, awesome to see everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you.